Hello there, this is Oliver for Oliver and Pam's podcast. Welcome to the next episode. This episode, I'm going to be recommending you some thriller books. This is not on a critic side. If you know, it's not like I'm not going to award them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm just going to tell you my favorites of all the thrillers I've read. I'm a huge thriller fan, and this is for people who are looking to start reading books. Like even if you say Pam is more a movie person than she's a book person. So if I have to make Pam read a book, I would suggest one of this, because it would make you want to turn pages. It will make you want to be like, hey, I want to know what's next. Hey, I want to read this book. It'll keep you intrigued. It'll keep you hooked to the book. So let's start with my suggestions on my list. First, I have The Breakdown from B.A. Paris. This is about Cass, who's forgetful, and what happens is, I'll give you a synopsis without a spoiler, so you are also intrigued to read the book. So this is about Cass. She comes back home from a gathering of her friends, and she takes the rural road instead. So this road is kind of abandoned, and if her husband knows, it's going to be a big fight that she took this road. So she drives by this road in this heavy rain, and then she realizes there's a car and there's a woman inside that car. Okay, she wants to help this woman, but she also does not want to put herself in danger, so she waits around and then she leaves back home. The next day in the news, it says that the woman is dead, and also she's been noticing patterns of her memory where she keeps forgetting stuff, where she's not able to, where she makes meetings with people and then she does not remember that. So much like that. So many small details, and now she's scared about the girl who died. She's scared about her, and then she realizes a lot of things in her life. So this is the story, and why I have this book on the list. This is not the best of all thrillers, even in the list I've read. Why I have this on my list today is because I had a panic attack while reading this book, because I'm a forgetful person. I forget a lot, and it becomes super relatable after a point where you're like, oh my god, this is something I'm going through as well. Would it become my story as well? Is it my story? That connectivity is something I really loved about this book. So let's go for the scores. I have 3 factors under which I'm going to score all these books. It's going to be jump factor, that is how many times it's like, oh my god, that did not happen, where my heart was just going. Another one is going to be spooky. How spooky it was, how scared it got me in a way, like, oh my god, I have a goosebump, or it's like how good they've told you about the settings, like, okay, this is where the person is, this is what is happening. That will come under spooky. And then overall, how much I would rate this book under. So these are the factors I'm going to score it under. And the jump factor here is going to be 2 on 5. I did not jump a lot reading this book. As I said, the panic attack came from the relatability of the book more than the scariness of the book itself. Like, it does become predictable in between, but it's a wonderful read. B.A. Paris is my favorite author, so of course she's going to be on this list. The spooky factor is 3.5. You do get spooked, especially if you're someone who, she's a person. Cass is a person who slowly forgets things. Like, initially she'll forget her keys, like an everyday person, and then she'll start forgetting a lot of different things. So I think in that way, in relatability and in spookiness, it's a 3.5. And overall, it's again a 3.5. It's a decent read. It's a easy read, first of all. A breezy read. You can just read it in a couple of days if you're a fast reader. And it's a very good read. So it's an overall 9 on 15. B.A. Paris is a wonderful author, and The Breakdown is one of her... It's not one of her best, because I have another one in the list which is her best, but it's a very, very good read. And if you're a beginner who's looking to read thrillers that will not just, if you're like me, if you're a scaredy cat and cannot read a lot of thriller books, I think this one is a very good one for you. Next one I have is The Bird Box by Josh Malerman. Okay, listen me out. Okay, just listen to me. Sandra Bullock was amazing. Netflix movie was amazing. I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. I did not even know there was a book, Bird Box, till I saw the movie, and I was googling about the movie, and I wanted to know what everything was about, like who was the director and all of that. So on Bird Box, Josh Malerman is amazing. He's written it the best way you can write it. Like, even if you've watched the film already, please go ahead and read the book, because there are a lot of different, as usual, even with Harry Potter, there are a lot of different stuff that happens in the book that is not covered in the movie. The ending is different. Oh, that was a spoiler, wasn't it? Okay, so the ending is different, and there's a lot more good stuff about the book. It's more raw than the movie. It's like the movie was, I think the movie was censored a little, like it was put down a little, like it did not want to be that cruel, so they put it down a little and they toned it down a little. So I think the Bird Box is super raw and it's amazing. The book is like it's 10 times better than the movie, I would say, minimum. And yeah, you should also check out the movie on Netflix. It is also a wonderful production, but the book is better. Any day the book is better. This is about Mallory. What happens is there's an unknown issue. I want to call it an unknown issue, where when people step out of their houses, I think this is when people step out of their houses, they have and they see something, the unknown issue, they want to kill themselves. So this is a context and how people are going to survive without going out and seeing things, and all of that is this whole story. She gives birth in the middle of all of this. There's so much happening around this. So like if you watch the movie, I think it's a very good context. And with the pandemic right now, I think not going out and all is super relatable. So trigger warning there if you want to, have that one to read. So here, let's go for jump scares. Jump scares, I don't think there's a lot of jump scares. I think with the fact that you've read the book, you've seen the movie, and that you're expecting something and something else happens. That was the jump scare I had, but not necessarily in the book itself, because I already knew what the book was about. I mean, and I already knew the ending is. When I read the book, I thought that's what the ending was going to be. The movies and the book's ending was the same as what I thought. So there was not a lot of jump scares. So I'm going to rate it a 3. And spooky factor is going to be 5 on 5. It was amazing, especially the book. It is like super thoroughly detailed, and it's like you living there, and you get super scared about everything. So I think spookiness, I think, is our 5 on 5. And then overall, it's a 4. It's a decent read, and it's more it's not scary, but it's more gross. It's more detailed and cruelty detailed, I think. So it's a 4, so it's a 12 on 15 for this. So the next one is going to be the Instagram fame, The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. This has been the most, I think this has been awarded. I think there were awards it should be awarded the Instagram thriller book of the year 2019, because it was reposted so many times. It's super famous on the Instagram bookstagram community, and it's The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. It's about Alicia Berenson, and she's a painter. She has an amazing life. She's married to a photographer, and suddenly one day the police find her with a gun in her hand, and there are 5 bullets across her husband's head. And then she's taken to a psychiatric facility where she's just been silent for so many years. And then there comes Theo Faber, who's a psychotherapist, and he's very intrigued by this case. He's like, she shot her husband and then she stopped talking. What is it about? And this book actually made me cry. I don't want to tell you where it made me cry, but it did make me cry at one point. And it's a very good book. It's a very again, it's not a very super twisted book. Like, you might guess the ending if you're someone who guesses endings. Like, for me, when I read books, I don't guess endings. Whereas Pam, she has to guess all the possible endings, and then she'll be like, hey, I guessed it. That's not me. I don't like guessing endings. So I think for me, as someone who does not guess endings, this was a very good read. But if you're someone, I think it becomes obvious after 70%. It's like, okay, this is where the book is going to end. So that might be a issue with this. So jump scares, I'm going to say 3, except the occasional jump scares that Alicia gives you. I don't think there's many jump scares here. Spookiness is 4. You get super spooked whenever they start explaining Alicia or anything that is happening around her. The silent Alicia, when they talk about her as a patient and what happens around her, I think it gets very spooky. Overall, it's going to be another 4 for me. It was a decent read. It made me cry. It ticked all the boxes for me, so it's 11 on 15. See, it's not in order. As you can see, it's not in an increasing order or anything. It is just the a collection of books that I want to recommend you guys, and I love reading, and I think everyone should be reading books, because that's the wonder of the world. You can read as many books as you want, and especially with Kindle these days, you can download and you can keep reading. So these are just a collection of suggestions and recommendations from me to you, and not a rating of books as such, like this is the top book of all thrillers. No, if you've read Stephen King's Shining, I think these are all very, very breezy reads for you, which is on my list, so maybe I'll give you a recommendation on that one after I finish it. So the next one is my first ever thriller that I've ever read. So it's The Lie by C.L. Taylor. So I got this at a book exhibition near my house, and it's my first thriller. Like, when I saw the book, I was like, okay, we've never read thrillers, let's just get this book and try it out. And there's an anecdote I'd like to say about this story. I started reading this book around 2 p.m. in the afternoon. Back then I was a little slow person, like I don't read as fast as I read today. So what happened was, I was reading the book, it was 2:30 a.m. in the middle of the night, and I closed the book. It was not done yet, and I was like, okay, I'm getting super spooked by this book. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to close this book, lock the book in my room, and go sleep in another room. So that's what I did for my first ever thriller, and it holds a special place in my heart, and that's why I think this is going to be one of the important suggestions. Please go read The Lie by C.L. Taylor. I'm just going to give you a very, very vague synopsis of this, because I want you to be surprised by everything that is happening in the book. So it's about Jane, who takes a trip with her friends to Nepal, because one of her friends have had a breakup and they want to cheer her up and they want to bond as a group, so they got to take a trip to Nepal, and so many spooky things happen over there. So that's all I'm going to tell you guys. I'm going to set you off on a good path and say, hey, go read the book to know more. So jump scares, I think that's where the book fails. There's no jump scares as such, so I'm going to give it a 2, but the spookiness is 5 on 5 for me. It spooked me so much I had to lock the book in a room. So I think spookiness is a 5 on 5, and then overall, of course, it's the first ever thriller I've read, it's a 5 on 5, so it's a 12 on 5, 15 for me. Please go read this book, and let's go to the next one. The next one is Verity by Collen Hoover. So I recently read this, and again, I like to share anecdotes with books, and what I did was, this has a lot of trigger warnings I'd like to give you guys. If you have triggers about child abuse and a lot of other stuff that is there, you might want to Google what the triggers are on this book and then go ahead and read it. I'd also emphasize that please do not read this without it'll surprise you in a very bad way. So what I did was, I put Pam on video call. I put her on video call. I put her on the table, and I sat with her and I read the book with her, because I was that scared. I'm a scaredy cat. I shouldn't be reading thrillers, but guess what I'm going to do again? So it's about Loven, who's an author. Okay, let's just compare it with the real world. So let's say there's an author who's just written 2 or 3 books, and suddenly you call her and ask her to finish Game of Thrones. So that's what kind of happens, right? So it's a legacy. The Verity is an author whose books are absolutely super, super famous, but she's met with an accident, and now they've asked Loven to complete her books. So when she comes home and she wants to try and, has she written the ending already? Does she only have to compile the ending, or does she have to come up with the ending and all of that? She finds an autobiography of Verity, and she starts reading it, and the truth unfolds, is what I want to give out here. So, of course, jump scares, it's a 5 on 5 for me. It's a spookiness, it's a 5 on 5 for me. But overall, it's a 4, because I'm not a fan of all of the triggers that happen. Like, I was not triggered by it, but I couldn't do without it kind of a person. So, that's where it kind of went track. And it also, I don't want to give away the ending, but I'm not satisfied with the ending, so I'm reducing that 1 mark. So it's a 14 on 15 for me on Verity. Next two, top 2. Like, these 2 books are the most recommended books ever for me. Like, anyone who comes to me, I recommend these 2 books, the next 2 ones. And Pam has read it, she's loved it. Pam has not read one of these books. I think she's read one of them, but she liked them. So she liked it. So it's Pam approved as well. I've recommended it to everyone who started to read books, and they've all loved it. It's a 100% hit for me. So I hope you guys like it as well. So it's the first book I want to recommend. after this. Okay, it's not the first book. I think it's like the sixth book I want to recommend here is No Exit by Taylor Adams. This is one of the first thrillers I read as an ebook. Like, I've been reading ebooks for a long time, but I think the first thriller I've read as an ebook is No Exit by Taylor Adams. It's an amazing book. It's like you will never expect what's going to hit you. It's going to hit you beautifully, and you'll want to forget everything in your head and read the whole book again. So it's about Dali, whose mom is sick, and she's traveling across the state to visit her mom for the last time or whatever that is, and she's stuck in a blizzard, and she hits a cafe. So what happens is she does not have signal. There are like 4 people around her, and she's waiting for the blizzard to pass so she can go visit her mom. When she finds out there's a girl kidnapped in a van behind the cafe. So now she doesn't know who to ask for help. She doesn't know who the kidnapper is. She doesn't know what to do, and she wants to save this girl. And does she do it? Successfully? Is she also alive after that? Does she go visit her mom? All of this is what the ending of the book is. As I said, this is the first ebook I've read as a thriller, and it's my favorite. It does have a little lesser marks than Verity, of course, because it is not as spooky or it's not as jump scares. Like, the jump scares are very less in this. Like, you'll not have jump scares. You'll have a lot of twists, but I don't think that comes under jump scares as for such for me. So jump scares here is 3 on 5. Spooked up is 5 on 5, because you imagine yourself in Dali's position. Like, who do I trust? Who do I just walk up to and say, hey, there's a girl behind you? What if, you understand, there's a lot of possibilities. What if you walk up to the wrong person and that person's a kidnapper and they're going to kill you? So much happens. There's no signal to call the police. There's so many obstacles for you down the road. So what do you do is something I was very spooked by it. So it's a 5 on 5. Overall, it's one of my favorite books. So again, it's a 5 on 5. So it's a 13 on 5 for me. Next is my most favorite thriller book ever. Like, I could write a thriller book and it'll still be the second best for me against this book. So it's Behind Closed Doors by B.A. Paris. Again, the same author as Breakdown. So this is her debut novel, and she's amazing in it. I mean, she's written an amazing story. You'll never guess what's going to happen, and then you start guessing, and then that'll happen. Like, I'll tell you. So it's about Jack and Grace. They seem like the perfect couple, right? You want to know about them. Like, wow, how are they so perfect? I want to know more about them. What do they do? What happens and all of that. But sometimes you realize after some time that they're not ever apart. They're always together. Why is that? Why are they stuck together at the hip? You'll want to know that. And then the story unravels. So one tip I have for you is put yourself in the protagonist's shoes, and then think of ways you would want to escape, or think of ways you would want the story to go, and the author would have answered that. Like, it'll happen, and the author will tell you that, hey, this does not work and this is why. So that's why it's brilliant. Like, you could think of multiple ways and that'll all be answered as well. So I think that's brilliant. That's like, you should guess what the customers, like what the reader is going to be guessing, and you're going to answer that as well. It is like, I think that's wonderful about this book for me. So jump scares, it's going to be a 4 on 5, because when I read the book, I did not even know the synopsis. I just jumped into it. I'm like, wow, that did not happen. So that happened for me. And Spooked is a 5 on 5, and overall it's a 5 on 5. That's a 14 on 5 for me. So that's my favorite book. So I would love to know more recommendations from you guys. You guys can find us on YouTube, and you can comment us on what books you want me to read. I also want to do an episode of the worst thrillers I've read, because that's going to be more fun for me than the best, because there are very few best, so you can just pick them up. The worst is going to be the problem, I'd say. And as I said, I want to reiterate here that this is not the best of all thrillers. This is the best of what I've read and what I've loved, and this is more close to my heart than critically acclaimed. Like, I would have also read a book that is actually more spooky but did not spook me as much. So it's whose writing sits with you, and you don't have to have a favorite like that, like you can read as much as you want. And this episode, hopefully, it's also October, so it's a spooky season. So go ahead, read thriller books, have fun, make a cup of hot chocolate, sit near your fireplace, or sit near your window, and enjoy a good book. This is all I want to do from this episode, is make one of you guys at least pick up a book and read that. So yeah, have a wonderful week. Stay safe. We are on a lot of other social media now. We are on Instagram and Twitter, but our podcasts are available in a lot of other mediums like Google Podcast, and a lot of other mediums it'll be linked on our Instagram page, so you can go check out which medium works for you well. We're also on Anchor, Spotify, and all of the regular ones. So yeah, take care, stay safe, read books, and the next episode is going to be probably from Pam. We're sorry for the irregular uploads. We are also having a bad time working from home. So yeah, the next episode hopefully is going to be from Pam, and it's going to be a good one, so you might want to stay tuned for that. So yeah, take care, stay safe, and see you later.